Hey parents, and welcome back to Gap Gracepoint Online. It's wonderful to have you joining us again for another episode of Big Questions for Parents. We know that preteens have loads of questions, and as a preteen parent or guardian, aunt or uncle, or anyone working with preteens, it can be very, very intimidating to have to deal with those questions. And so that's why we're here as Gap Gracepoint, to help you answer and help you think about what some of those big questions are. Maybe these are questions that you are struggling with about your preteen, or that you've been wondering about. Or maybe this is a question that your preteen has asked you. And so today's topic is, why does my preteen want to sleep all the time? As a parent or guardian of a preteen, you may notice that your child, which is not so little anymore, that is now a preteen, is changing. Their bodies are changing, their minds are changing, the way that they are is changing. What might be helpful is for you to check out Understanding Your Preteen, one of our segments right here on Gap Gracepoint Online, for more information and a little bit more about where they're at developmentally, socially, spiritually, and the rest of it. But today we're going to briefly look at, why does your preteen want to sleep all the time? Because they're undergoing so many changes in their body is naturally shifting and changing. This also means that their energy is being redirected to their growth. Scientists tell us that the growth spurts happen in stages. And so your first big stage of growth happens obviously from gestation period, which is your pregnancy period. Then from ages 0 to 3 years old, from 3 to 10, it slows down just a little bit. And then from 10, it spikes again up to adolescence and young adulthood. And so a lot of that energy is being redirected to the developmental processes that are happening in your preteen's body. Your body is needing more energy at this point, and it is difficult to keep up with friends, a hectic schedule, school, and the rest of it, while so much is happening in one's body, to make sure that you are able to keep up with all of it. And so, firstly, remember that your preteen is going through changes. There's a lot happening, and energy is being redirected. Secondly, science tells us that your preteen is needing a lot more sleep. And the problem is, they're not getting that sleep. The Center of Disease Control, the CDC, which really regulates health and things across the globe, tells us that preteens need about 8 to 10 hours sleep per night. The reality is, with hectic schedules, they may not be getting all that sleep. There's also some things happening in their body that's natural to preteens, and especially teens, that's shifting the way that they sleep and their sleep patterns. And so we want to just have a look quickly at what are some of the shifts that are happening inside their body, and why is this causing that they want to sleep all the time. And if they're wanting to sleep all the time, why are they not sleeping at night? Now, science tells us that during preteenhood or during puberty, your preteen's sleep schedule, or your circadian rhythm, which is your natural body clock, shifts. This is completely normal. And so you may notice that teenagers naturally tend to stay up later and want to wake up later. This is completely normal. This is how their body rhythm has shifted. And so you might find that it's difficult for them to go to bed or to try and sleep before a certain time of the day. This obviously isn't helpful for sleeping and for school, and for hectic schedules where you know that your preteen is needing a lot more sleep. So what can you do as a parent? One is helping with getting them relaxed and not having stimulating environments before bedtime. This includes having things like calming teas or music in the house, also making sure that the homework is done in the afternoon so that they're not too stimulated before they go to bed. Another way is having a regular bedtime rhythm. You might need to adjust the times a little bit from when they were children, but just like when they were little children and you had to have a routine and a rhythm, this is still essential as a parent to a preteen and especially to a teenager. So help them establish a bedtime routine. They're at that stage where they're wanting to get independent from you. They're not really wanting to listen to you so much as they did when they were little children. And so establish this together, speak to them, discuss with them, and set this plan together. That way it's agreed upon, it's realistic, and it's helpful for you as a parent into helping your child get the best out of their day and do the best in school, but it's also realistic and achievable for your preteen and comfortable because they've had a say and they're not being spoken at. So speaking of sleep, Now, the age-old question that parents of teenagers and preteens have been asking. What about on weekends? What do I do when my preteen or my teen wants to go out to friends on a weekend and I can't regulate their sleep? Or what happens when they want to stay up late during the weekend and they're not getting enough sleep as a result of it? Parents, there's times where we just have to relax and acknowledge the fact that growing up means staying up later. We're wanting to give our children the best opportunity to grow up, to own their future. And so part of the fun of growing up is being able to stay up late. Obviously, with that being said, as a parent, you want to guide them to having the best possible outcome. So on the weekends, adjust the bedtime routine. Maybe put a curfew in place of when they need to be home or when certain activities need to be done. Perhaps you want to put in time a TV schedule so that the TV time or the gaming time stops after a certain time of night, that they can start to wind down and get ready for their bedtime. This may need to shift slightly and be later if there is an opportunity to sleep in later on the next day. And lastly, weekends are a great time to play into the natural rhythm that your preteen's body has shifted into. Allow them to maybe go to bed a little bit later, but with a reasonable sleep time, but also to wake up a bit later. That way, they get the optimum sleep that they need because they are naturally sleeping in the pattern that their body wants to sleep. This may be a great recovery process, but be wary, too much sleep can also negatively impact your preteen. And so you want to just make sure that they're not sleeping way too late or sleeping way too much. That also saps some of their energy and can cause mood disorders like anxiety, depression, and overall affect your family space. We really hope that these videos are helping a little bit as you parent your preteen. Maybe you're now understanding your preteen better, and if you find that this is a helpful space, please pass this on to any other parents or community members of preteens who would find this helpful. We look forward to having you join us next time again for another episode of Big Questions for Parents.